Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides, and I have one hell of a race car here for you. This is a 1997 BMW M3. For me, this brings back so many memories because I was at racetracks in 1997 watching this thing take on cars from around the world. You know, I really feel like the BMWs of today, they're great, but back in the 90s, especially with this M3, there's nothing like the sound of a straight six. I really feel like these cars are perfectly balanced. If you see the styling, I'm really loving how they had the flared fenders back then because remember, your standard M3 would end right there. Because we're running wider tires, slick tires, they decided to flare the fenders out. That gives it such a distinctive look. This hood has some nice vents here for heat extraction. Let me take you around to the front. If you look at the front here, I really love when they started putting front splitters on race cars. This is just traditional BMW styling. There are the kidney-shaped grills. That's something that harks all the way back to the beginning of BMW. Same thing with that BMW emblem. I don't know if you're aware, that BMW emblem stands for a rotating blade. That's because BMW got their start first in making airplane engines, and then after World War I, switched to motorcycles, and then eventually cars. This, like I said, though, if you look at the new BMW M3s and M4s, yeah, they're faster. Yeah, they have more horsepower. But this is really where it's at. And this is what I love about these events is seeing some of these historic cars. It's kind of crazy to think that a car from 1997 is considered historic, but it is. And, you know, there's many different events where you get to see these cars run. Yeah, it's cool seeing it sit here, but I promise you, if you go to a historic racing event and get a chance to hear them and see them go by, that's what it's all about. But let's go ahead and check out the back end of this 1997 BMW M3. So here we are at the back and side end of this car, and you can see they just continued that flared fender look. It really gives the car such a muscle stance to it. I really love that rear wing. You know, I know some people might say, oh, it looks atrocious or whatever, but that is things that I remember, and a lot of you guys that were at the tracks back in the 90s, seeing this thing run at the Rolex 24 hours and as far as the Sebring and everything else. But like I said, just the styling, I really love this generation of M3. I wish there was a way BMW could go back to this because, like I said, the new ones have lots of great technology, but there's nothing like the styling of this M3. Let me go ahead and show you inside. If you were the driver, what would you be seeing? So you can see behind the wheel of this car, you know, you don't have the fancy paddles. You don't have a ton of technology. Obviously, it's the 90s, so you have more technology than there was in previous generations, but still very simplistic. You got that gear shift lever there, and that's what I like to see. You know, drivers today, they're great, they're fast, but there's just something about operating a traditional manual gearbox and getting it done the good old-fashioned way. But this is what was the best that you saw in the GT3 class from BMW. Let's go ahead and check out the back. All right, here we are at the back end of this BMW, and you can see it's got that classic. I remember these BMW bumpers. It's got the BMW taillights. One thing you'll notice is that there's a carbon fiber cutout here. Now, if you're wondering why is this here, depending on the racetrack, is going to depend what side of the car gets fuel. So if you are at a particular track and you don't need to fuel the car from that side, then they just put this carbon fiber cover over it, whereas you would fill up on the other side. But everything is fully adjustable. And that's the thing is that when you come in to get fuel, it's not just about getting the fuel and getting your tires. There are tons of adjustments that the crew can do to these cars because as a race goes by, the balance of the car is going to change. So you might need to add a little bit more rear wing or take out some rear wing or at the front, adjust the front end of the business based off of how the car is behaving because there's so many different variables that affects how a race car handles. Keep staying tuned because I'm going to do a vlog to give you a little bit of background about my racing history. I did race cars professionally for 2 years after college, and stay tuned for that because I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys. But like I said, this BMW M3, what a wonderful specimen of what was happening in the 1990s. And if you like things like this, let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet. Check out my website, raitisrise.com. And like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.